Hi folks, Cormac here. A special one for us today. Shout out to Lisa Curwin, who actually requested that I show how to do a lentil sausage roll. So, not 100% sure at the benchmark of what I'm aiming for, but the recipe I'm going to give you turned out great. Hope you give it a try and let's get cooking. We're going to be using red lentils for this one, and that's going to give us a really nice colour with the sweet potato as well. So ingredients are down the bottom. Just have a look, get everything out before you start. The first step is going to roast the sweet potato. We're going to cook it at 160 degrees, give it a wrap of tin foil, dash of olive oil, salt and pepper, straight into the oven. Next up, we're going to dice our onion. We're going to sweat that off with generous glug of olive oil, and while that's sweating off, we're going to start grating our carrot. It'll take about 5 minutes or so for the onions to sweat off. We're going to put our spices in and we're going to give them a little bit of a toast. That's going to help bring out the aroma from the spices better. Next up, garlic. We're going to make a paste out of it, so you can use a crusher if you have one, or use a knife like this, or a food processor with a dash of oil, up to you. That goes straight in and we're going to cook that for about a minute or so. Now, once that's done, we're going to put our herbs in, we're going to put our lentils in. We're going to give that a bit of a stir around, we're going to pop our salt in, followed by the grated carrot right on top. And we don't want to stir that through too much, we're going to leave that on the very top of it. And then we're going to add our water and or stock if you have a stock cube, put it in there now. I didn't have any to hand, so just using water. Now the lid goes on and we're going to cook that for about 15 minutes. Check him after 15. If it needs a little longer, cook him for about another 5. And once that's all ready to go, check if your sweet potato is cooked, and if so, we're going to mix them together. I'm going to peel the skin off, and while it's still warm, we're going to mix them both together. So now I'm going to add some Parmesan. That might seem a bit weird, but it works really well. What it does is it brings a bit more fat to the dish and also gives it a bit more of a kind of a hearty flavour, which works really well. So your mixture should be quite thick, otherwise it's not going to work too well. Now this is what it's like after it's been in the fridge. I've refrigerated it for a couple of hours and make sure it's stone cold before you start putting it onto your puff pastry. Now I'm just going to make a nice line down one side of my puff pastry, and this is how we're going to get our sausage shape. We're going to just pack it across, make sure there's no gaps, and we're going to use the paper underneath the puff pastry to help shape it for us, and then we're going to put it back and bring it over. Now make sure this is nicely and tightly packed, and press down really hard on the edges just to make sure it's completely sealed, and then we're going to cut it off. Repeat this with the other remaining mix. Now I'm going to just push down again just to seal further with a fork, and we're going to egg wash it. This is going to help give it a nice golden brown colour in the oven. And it's also going to help stick our sesame seeds to it, which we'll be using. Now just give it a portion. I'm getting 3 out of mine. You're probably going to have a similar size puff pastry, so you'll probably get the same. You can make them smaller if you want smaller ones. I like to give it a little score on the top, makes them kind of look nicer. Straight onto the tray. Lined with paper, I might add, just in case you don't want it to stick on you. Little few sprinkles of sesame seeds on top, going to add another little bit of texture, flavour, and they look cool, so why not. Alright, now bang them in the oven at 180 for about 20 minutes or so, but as always, give them a check. Hope you give these a try. Thanks for watching. Check out some of my other videos. Happy cooking.